I'm just a single dog mom who works a corporate job and creates content on the side. And I be preaching sometimes. Preaching better than the folks be saying amen. Hey there, and welcome to the first official episode of the Pretty Intentional Podcast. I'm your host, Candice Coleman, and I'm so glad that you're here. If you haven't already, take a couple of minutes and listen to the intro episode that gives you a bit of information about me and what this podcast is all about. In this episode, I want to talk about turning 40 and some of the most impactful lessons I've learned up to this point. Right before my 40th birthday, one of my best friends asked me how I felt and what has life taught me thus far. It really made me reflect and was such a nice welcome to the fourth floor, as one of my mutuals calls it. First of all, 40 feels fucking fantastic. I feel so good, full of life and gratitude. I feel absolutely amazing and just happy to be here. I've never been one to feel anxiety or sadness about aging. Just as excited as I am to turn 40, I was to turn 30, but after beating cancer, surviving a shit ton of other things, I'm beyond grateful to be here in the land of the living. There are entirely too many people that don't even get to see 40. And like our girl Tisha Campbell Martin says, I'm still here. I've never felt as confident or sure of myself. I shared with my friends before my birthday how excited I was to now be moving into the 40 and up side of content creation. I feel like I finally found my place. Now, don't get me wrong, I have an amazing community online and I love my little corner of Beyonce's internet. But as a content creator, I've often felt somewhat alienated. I'm not married. I don't share relationship or dating content. I'm not one of the natural hair girlies. I don't have any children. I haven't purchased a home yet. I'm just a single dog mom who works a corporate job and creates content on the side. But what I do have is a voice. And I be preaching sometimes, preaching better than the folks be saying amen. And that's because while I may not have checked all those other boxes, I've lived a life, baby. And I'm finna talk about and share about what life has taught me. There have been some big lessons and some little lessons, some painful lessons, and more importantly, a lot of purposeful lessons. But if I had to narrow it down to some of the most impactful ones, it would be these 7 lessons that I'm going to share with you. So let's get right into it. Here are 7 of the best life lessons that I've learned at the age of 40. Number 1, it is what it is till it ain't. Now I'm going to say that again because I need you to hear it. It is what it is till it ain't. I don't care what it is in life that you're facing. It's all temporary. The job, the relationship, your health, your weight, your finances, your edges, your thoughts and or opinions. They're all subject to change at a moment's notice. And that's okay. I need you to really start enjoying things for what they are in that moment. And if and when they change, then keep it moving. We've all experienced that job that we wanted so bad, thought it was going to be the answer to all of our problems. We were going to get promoted to being an elite employee. And then the next thing you know, you've got the Sunday scaries and having anxiety attacks about going to work on Monday. Back in August of 2022, there had been some changes in my life that led me to make some decisions, and that I was just going to just up and leave Maryland, where I had lived all 38 years of my natural born life, and I was going to move to Houston, Texas without telling anyone. My contract job in DC was ending. I felt untethered. What JT said, I ain't got no kids. I live a totally different life. And I wanted something different. I easily could have been scared. And to be kind of honest, I was, because I didn't have a new job secured and I didn't have a lot of money saved up. But what I did know is that at any given moment, I could have changed my mind and moved back home or just moved somewhere else. Because newsflash, you get to change your mind. As much as things are always changing around us, why would we stay the same? I really need you to get comfortable with changing your mind. That way, when life changes up, it's easier to just keep it moving. Life says, oh, I'm changing. Well, guess what, girl? So am I. I was going to do it anyway because that's just how I am. Now, this leads me into my second point, pivot or perish. Pivot or perish because you've got to be flexible because things in life are inevitably changing. Life be life and girl, and it comes at you fast. And sometimes you have to pivot, and by not doing so, that can be detrimental. But know that the pivot isn't always permanent, but oftentimes it's necessary. And I'd rather pivot 3 times and learn along the way than stand still and be stuck in the same spot without additional experience and wisdom. Do something different, switch it up, go a different route. But don't let life make the decision for you. See things for what they are and make a move. When I was a sophomore in college, I decided to transfer. I left the school that I was at, and then I transferred to the University of Maryland. And the program that I was trying to get into was an LEP program, a limited enrollment program. So I had to apply to get into this program. Now, there was no reason I should not have gotten into this program. Everything was all lined up. And then, as the universe would so have it, I did not get into the program. I was trying to get into the communication school. I met all of the requirements, and now magically the rules changed and I was not permitted into the program. And I was in the dean's office and I was just told, you're not in, you're not applying again. Go to the career center, find a new major, have a good day. And that was it. There I was standing there at 19, 20 years old, and I had to figure it the fuck out. And I had to pivot, and I had to pivot quick. I didn't have a choice. I had to make the switch, and I'm so glad that I did. Ended up working out in the end, but in that moment, I had to pivot because if I did not pick up my feet and pivot, Lord only knows what was going to happen. And this leads me to my third lesson because we're going to control what you can control and surrender the rest. People make plans and God laughs. And baby, I've been the butt of his jokes one time too many to learn that I'm not in control of most things. Quite frankly, I'm not in control of anything. I learned this lesson best during my breast cancer journey. When I found out I was diagnosed, naturally, everything is going through my mind. How did this even happen? I was very healthy. I was eating clean. I was exercising. I was working out. I went and got a wellness check and got checked for all the things right before I moved to Houston. How could this be happening to me right when I got here? Everything was out of my control. When I decided to share my diagnosis online, I did not do that until about 10 days before I started chemo. What people did not see was the time between April 17th and May 10th, how I was spiraling mentally because I didn't have any control. Trying to ask myself how I got here. Was I going to freeze my eggs? If I did, how was I even going to afford that? Did I have to go do chemo or not? I didn't know anything because it's that scary time in between of diagnosis before you're even told exactly what kind you have, what your course of treatment is going to be. So I'm literally in the dark. I'm doing the doomsday scrolling and I lost it. Until I met with oncology on May 10th and they said, you have triple negative breast cancer. You have to do months of chemotherapy. And immediately it was, okay, so what's next? Control what you can control, surrender the rest. At that point, I decided I need to lock the fuck in and approach this like an athlete and control what I can control. I can control my mindset. I can control my energy. I can control what I consume energetically and food-wise, all of these things. Those were things that I could control. I couldn't control how my body was going to respond to any of the medication. I couldn't control, if I was going to feel sick or not. But I knew that I could control my energy and my mindset. And I'm going to tell you, like I told everybody, that journey was 90% mental and 10% physical. Once I controlled my mind, the rest was easy money. So if my life has taught me anything, control what you can control and then just surrender the rest. The fourth lesson that I want to share with you is it's a blessing to be a blessing. I have been blessed a million times over in this here life. But a common thread that I've heard from a number of people who have blessed me is that they've all mentioned how I have blessed them at some point in life. And what I do know is you're always going to get what you give tenfold. Back in 2019, I had a job and it didn't go well. I thought this was going to be a good thing. I was going to ride it out. And then very quickly, it was not. I was let go, not under the best circumstances, but I had built some relationships with some colleagues at work who are still very near and dear to me to this day. In that time, even when I was let go, there was a young man who now is like a best friend, a brother, and a mentee to me that I was guiding and teaching him things. Now, when I left, I could have easily just said, fuck this job, fuck him. I'm not teaching him shit because they did me dirty. But it wasn't about the job. It wasn't about me. I knew there were things that he wanted to learn, he needed to learn, and that's all I cared about. So I did that. Took him under my wing, taught him everything that I knew, and I was going to continue to guide him and help him succeed at this job who didn't give a fuck about me because it wasn't about me. Fast forward, he gets a new job, he moves, he buys a house, all these things. Fast forward again, I'm moving to Houston. He lives in Houston. What helped me be able to just get up and go to Houston was that he said, well, if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have this job and this house and this increase. Just come here. And I said, there's no way I'm going to do that without a job because that's not me. I didn't ask you to have a job. Just come here. We'll figure it out. That blessing became available to me when I needed it most. I could not imagine going through my cancer treatment journey in Houston, a place that is foreign to me and I've never lived, if I didn't have a place to stay, a place to land safely. I will never, never take that for granted. And I know that that was, without me trying to do so, that was me blessing someone else and it coming back to me. Darian, I love you and I will always love you. The fifth lesson kind of piggybacks off of that. Community will carry you far. You shouldn't do life alone. Find your people, find your tribe, let them love up on you, support you, and show up for you. But please remember, closed mouths don't get fed. You need to tell people when you need them and how you need them. And you also need to do what you can to show up for others so that they'll be able to show up for you. When I first moved to Houston, one of the biggest things that I felt was this immediate feeling of, I need my people. I hadn't made new friends there. I hadn't built a community there. And I just kept longing for being at home, especially as I was still searching for a new job. That was giving me the blues. I'm in this place where I really can't even comfortably be outside because I'm running out of money. Outside costs money. So now I'm just in the house in a foreign land to me. And I just wanted to go to my best friend's house and curl up on the couch. I just wanted a different type of comfort. And so what it taught me and what it showed me immediately was I need proximity to my people. My community is so important to me. And a lot of people asked me how I felt about Houston. And it was hard for me in the moment because I was dealing with so many things. Because then as soon as I started working, I got money, I could be outside. Boom. Less than a month later, hey, you have cancer. So now I'm back inside and now I'm fighting this without the village that I thought I was going to have dealing with something like this because I did treatment in Houston. I didn't go home to Maryland. But now, me living back in Maryland and now being removed from Houston, now I have this longing for Houston. And it's not necessarily that I want to move back, it's just that Houston is also home now because the family and the community that I inherited, that I built, that I found, they're literally family. These are my sisters and my brothers. They showed up and they showed out for me. They cared for me. When I was up, when I was down, they were there. And not only that, when I was diagnosed, I knew that this was not something that I could do alone. As Black women, we know it's easy for us to just say, fuck it, I'm going to do it by myself. And I'm the queen of fuck it, I'm going to do it myself. I tend to fade to black. I just get shit done. But I immediately knew that this was the time that I could not do that. I couldn't be left alone. I couldn't be left alone in my own head and my own thoughts because I knew that this was more mental than anything. I couldn't be left with my own thoughts. So once I found out that I had to do chemo, control what I can control, I got the village on the horn. And I immediately articulated to my village, I need you. You've been designated as part of my village, and I'm going to need you. I need you to know that there is no too much checking in on me. There's no such thing as being overbearing. Pull up, call, do the things, but I cannot be left alone. And I had to say that. And my village did an amazing job of being there for me. Not only my immediate village, my online community showed up and showed out. When I shared my diagnosis with my community, I had about 10 days before I started chemo. And it shocked a lot of them. And they asked me, did I have an Amazon registry? And I didn't want anything for my community. I financially was in a good place. I knew I was going to get the things that I needed, and just make it work between myself, my parents. I had an immediate support system that I was going to have the things. And they just kept hounding me, put a list together. So I put an Amazon registry together of things that I would need to get me through treatment. And as soon as I posted it, my list was cleared in 2 hours. The girls quite literally were fighting on how that they could show up for me. And I was completely taken aback. And then they said, okay, well, you got what you need. We'll add some more things. And I'm like, well, you guys have what I need. I'm good. No, add more things. So I did. Okay, you got the things that you need, but what do you want? And I was like, well, I don't need you guys to get, what do you want? The way my community showed up and showed out for me is an understatement. People talk about parasocial relationships and how they may or may not be real, but I have the best online community. Some have become real friends in real life, and we get up and we see each other, travel. Like, I have the most amazing community, and I do not take that for granted. The sixth lesson that I want to share with you is you can't add days to your life, but you can add life to your days. Tomorrow isn't promised, point blank, period. And while we may not know the day or the hour or the circumstance, we know that we cannot add any extra days to our life, but what we can do is add life to our days, truly enjoying moments and people and making memories. It might be all that you have. And I hate to sound cliche after being a cancer survivor and having a new lease on life, but it's true. I did not survive to not live. And in living, I'm going to have the most enjoyable life as I see fit. I'm going to savor every bit of it and romanticize it because, baby, it could have been another way. The seventh and final lesson that I want to share with you is something that's kind of new to me, and it's clear the bar. Now, this one was recently given to me by my boss because oftentimes we, especially Black women, we feel that we need to go above and beyond. And sometimes the bar isn't set as high as you think it is. We overthink things and we're trying to be perfect. And sometimes you don't have to do that. You just have to clear the bar. Think like the high jump event in track and field. You only got to clear the bar by the smallest margin. That ass just got to get over the bar. And sometimes that's all you need to do. Sometimes just enough is more than enough. There are so many more things that life has taught me, but these are some of the most impactful. I hope these lessons have helped you in some kind of way or given you some sort of perspective or new approach. Again, I'm so happy to be in the fourth floor. So here's to the next decade of life and all the beautiful lessons that it will bring. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Pretty Intentional. Remember, being intentional isn't about being perfect. It's about showing up for yourself and your journey. Until next time, stay true to yourself, live with purpose, and as always, keep it pretty intentional.